Hi guys, my name is Rio, and today I'm going to tell you about how I stole someone else's phone and got rich. It happened by accident. I'm not a thief. I have a conscience. But you know, a person changes a lot when he sees money around. I realized this from my own experience. Now I will tell you how it was. In the meantime, please like, write comments, and don't forget to subscribe. My family is not rich, but we have always made an honest living. My father and mother work in public service. Many of their colleagues have made a fortune long ago, just because they know how to turn a blind eye to conscience. It's a little different for me. Since childhood, I was more loyal. No, I didn't take bribes, but I did make them. For example, I bribed my classmate to do my homework for me. I considered it a bargain because I was honestly buying her time and labour for chocolate and a cocktail. My parents were shocked when they found out about it. My father punished me. He said that not only would I remain stupid without learning a lesson, but I was developing two bad qualities in myself: laziness and bribing someone. I did not express my opinion because I was not listened to anyway. You have a little sister growing up. What kind of example do you set for her? What's the big deal? I just hired a man to make money for me. Hired? Does she work for you? No. Are you her boss? No. Then be a good teacher and do your homework. Your father and I have been working honestly for so many years, so as not to tarnish our reputation. And you? Who's asking you to do that? Your colleagues have long bought 3 apartments, and we are crammed into a 2-room apartment. Don't talk to your mother like that, okay? Okay, I won't do it again. Sorry, Mum and Dad. That's better. That's about how our conversation ended. I left for school very angry. After class, my friend Phil and I went to the cafe to have cocktails. Phil said that my parents were so honest that even if they found a piece of gold on the road, they wouldn't take it because it was someone else's. What would you do, Phil? I'd wait a few days, and if nobody found it, I'd sell it and take the money. I'd do the same thing. As soon as I said that, I went into the bathroom, and after I'd done all the business, I saw the phone on the toilet barrel. It wasn't very new, a little scratched, and the model was old. I picked it up and easily guessed the unlock code. Nothing interesting. No games, no apps, nothing. The photo gallery was empty too. I stuck it in my pocket and wanted to give it to the waiter, walked out of the bathroom, and then I got a message. Your $2,000 can be picked up at the address. We'll leave it under trash can number 6. See you later. I was like, what? $2,000? I slowly walked over to the table and reread the message 10 more times. My friend noticed the surprised face and asked, "What's up?" I tucked my phone in my pocket and told him everything. Phil was surprised too. Look, what if it's some kind of drug dealer? I've seen that in movies. They usually have simple phones and leave the money in strange places so they don't see each other. So what do I do? Give the phone to the waiter? What if the waiter takes the money? And what do you suggest? We take it ourselves? Well, yes, we talked to you about this topic. Consider it luck and it's your piece of gold. What if they're dangerous people? You give up the money. What if they hurt me? If they call, hide the money somewhere and write a message saying so and so. They are there and then destroy the phone. I thought for a long time. It was the first time in my life. Then the waiter came up to us and I abruptly hid my phone in my pocket again. We asked for the bill and decided to get the hell out of there. I remembered my mum and dad as we walked out of the cafe, already imagining them yelling at me. Hey man, I see you're having second thoughts, huh? Are you going to keep turning down the gifts of fate your whole life? I took a deep breath and said, I don't know. What if it's some grandpa's phone? He's out of money and this is his payment for something. Well, then think of all the homeless people and on. Phil was right. I can't be responsible for everyone. We drove to the designated location, rolled behind the containers and found a roll of money there, and then quickly took off. I stuffed the money in my jeans pocket. Then an hour later, I got another text message. $5,000 lying in under a bench at... I read the message and looked at Phil. He clapped me on the shoulder and was like, Man, you're rich. Let's go get it. At first I was hesitant, but when I touched my pocket with the $2,000, it was like some kind of excitement lit up in me. It was, in fact, easy money. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to go and get it. But what if it really was money from a dealer? Is stealing from a criminal considered theft? I took that money too. A day later, I got another message. I took another $6,000. 2 days later, another $4,000. In total, I had the sum of $17,000 in my hands. It was a lot of money. I hid it under a rug in my room and kept it, not even looking there so as not to be tempted. I caught a lull to see if the owner would show up or not. So, 1.5 weeks went by, no one showed up. And I thought that if it had been an old man, there would probably already be ads posted. So I began to reassure myself that I would soon use the money. Exactly 2 weeks later, Phil and I met in the park and he asked me how things are going. I told him nothing had changed. Then he patted me on the shoulder again and said, "Now spend it with a clear conscience." My heart started pounding. I was so excited. I told Phil to meet me at the mall in an hour and I ran home to get the money myself. I ran straight into the room, pulled up the rug, but the money wasn't there. I searched the entire room, but the money was still gone. Then my mother came in and asked me what I was looking for. If I had told her, she would have killed me, so I lied and said I was looking for a history book. Then there was a knock at the door. My mother went to open the door and I went out after her, upset. Then some thugs entered the house without asking. There were 2 of them, both wearing glasses and suits. The first one stepped forward and asked me where to find Rio. My knees shook. I thought, what's going to happen? My mum asked them sternly, "What do you want with him? He's my son and he's a minor." The thug said I had something that belonged to their boss. What? The big man looks at me and says, "Where are they?" I don't know what you mean. "Boy, we don't have time for these jokes. Where are they? We know it was you who took the phone and then everything else." Took what? What phone? I didn't take a thing. The bully took out a phone and showed from the security cameras how I was walking with the phone in my hand to the cafe, leaving the cafe and walking away after reading the message. My breathing quickened. I didn't take anything. I threw the phone away. I did not believe the message. Honestly, I have nothing. Phil burst into the house yelling, "Rio, where are you? Are we going to spend your money or not?" I closed my eyes, my mouth dry. Mum was already starting to get nervous, and so were the thugs. I faded and then walked out of the house. I stood in the middle of the room and didn't know what to do. They started talking about the money again, and I said I didn't know where it was. Then the second thug came to the door and locked it. Mum said she would call the police, and then the second guy cut the cord. At this point, I wanted to cry with fear. I don't know where they are, okay? I collected all $17,000. I hid it under the mat in my room, but I don't know where they are. I yelled. Mum was in shock. I roared. Then my little sister came out of the bathroom with an envelope in her hand. "Why are you yelling like that? I've got it." "What? Where did you get that from?" "Well, I saw you were hiding money there. I thought you didn't need it and decided to take it for yourself. I hid it somewhere else. Here it is. Why are you yelling?" The thugs took the envelope from her. All the money was there. Afterwards, I gave them the phone and they left. Mum closed the door behind them and blushed with anger. I realised I was in trouble. Big trouble. Anyway, I won't tell you what happened next. It still hurts to sit in one place. But I clearly learned one simple rule. Do not take someone else's things. And it's not so much a matter of conscience as of safety when it comes to such a sum. So darlings, since then I don't take other people's phones or bags left in cafes or anything at all. Neither has Phil, by the way. What would you do if you were me? Share your opinions.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie. Today I will share my story. Maybe you will judge me, but in the end I had to do it. Free myself, so to speak. I sold mine precisely. In general, I will tell you from the beginning. My father was a pilot, and as you know, they are rarely at home. Permanent work, training in other countries, business trips. But despite this, I loved it very much and always looked forward to it. Every time he visited a new country, he brought a gift that we thought was a talisman. At times when I missed my dad very much, or when I had bad moments, I would open the box with talismans. They were very reassuring. It was like sitting by the river, watching the current and finding new strength. I had in my collection a rhinoceros from Africa, a silk handkerchief from Turkey, a wax figure from Prague, and many, many other most interesting and unusual things. But the most important of them was the Hierophant stone. This non-ordinary talisman, it was as if there was an unusual amount of energy in it. He gave a lot of strength and self-confidence. I didn't get it easily. This stone is not for sale, and it could only be found in India on a high mountain in a temple. The Buddhists would only entrust this stone to a few, namely those who would bring the letter. In the letter, the future owner of the amulet had to state about himself, views on life, promised to change himself, and treat all living beings with pure intentions and soul. In general, there was a whole book dedicated to this stone and the letter. The Buddhist opened the letter, read aloud, and after which of these stones changed its color from black to blue, he gave it to them. Let me remind you that this happened very rarely. They came from all over the world, and only a few managed to buy this precious stone. Once my father finally took a vacation and we all had to fly to the sea. I took advantage of the moment to persuade to take a vacation to India. To be honest, I spent half a year on the letter, hundreds of times reworked, thought about almost every letter. I prepared carefully for the meeting with the Buddhist, and the rest of my family was a great happiness for me. Therefore, the vacation was long awaited. Well, this moment came, and we went on a journey. The time passed very cheerfully. We spent so little time together, and I tried to enjoy every second of it. On the last day of our trip, my dad and I went to the same mountain. We specifically left it for the last day in case I didn't get the stone, so as to not spoil our vacation. The climb was not easy. On the one hand, it was hard to climb so high, and on the other, I was very worried. Having overcome 1,000 steps, my expectations were fulfilled. I got my long-awaited stone, Hierophia. My intentions were sincere, and the amulet was to my liking. It was the perfect end to a vacation. It was very sad to leave India, but my father promised that we would fly here again in a year. But unfortunately, life has its own plans. After a month off, my father went back to work. On the first day, there was a terrible plane crash. The plane crashed, and my world collapsed with it. The bright, bright days turned to gray. My adolescence aggravated my condition, and that good-natured, cheerful girl died in me. Even after the anniversary of my dad's death, my depression didn't go away. It just kept getting worse. And then my mother decided to move to another city. The psychologist recommended getting rid of all things related to Dad, but we couldn't make up our minds and just left the house and moved to another city with the necessary things. In my memory, the days passed quickly. A new city, a new society replaced my boring, meaningless days. I began to open up to people again, to communicate. This fate and I cannot return and change everything. With such thoughts, I tried to awaken in myself the girl who existed when Dad was alive. It was very difficult to cope. Over time, we had a hard time with money because Dad provided for us. After 5 years, my mother and I were forced to sell the house that we once left in memory of my father, and all things with it. While flipping through the internet, I saw the stone Hierophia. The author wanted to buy it, but I did not pay attention, thinking that someone was just joking and soon forgot about this ad. First of all, I had to sort out my box with talismans. I sat from morning to evening. My head was swimming with thoughts with different memories. I realized that I really missed these gifts. But no matter how much I thought about it, I just couldn't get rid of them and decided to keep everything for myself and find the strength to get back on my feet and go back to my old life. But that amulet brought from India stopped changing its color, probably because I became a person not with an open soul. I stopped being friendly. I was angry, remembering how much time and effort I'd spent on him. I stroked it again and again, but it also remained insensitively black. Out of anger, I decided to get rid of it. I typed the name of the amulet on the internet, and there were 1,000 ads for its purchase. People were willing to give millions for this little amulet. Gradually, my anger turned to excitement, and I imagined how my mother and I could get rich in an instant. I didn't think to put the stone up for sale. From the first day, a dozen calls came, and with each call, the amount for the amulet increased. Greed took possession of me. I was waiting for a buyer who would offer more. More than what amount? I didn't know yet. After much thought, I put up for auction my own, or rather my father's and my amulet. The auction lasted all day, and at the end of it, $2 million was offered for the stone. Without a drop of regret, the next day I handed it to the next owner. At that time, it was the right decision for me. It seemed that I helped my mother and we got rich. But over time, the anger faded and the mind came to itself. I felt very bad and ashamed. I forgot the most important thing, that the only owner of the amulet is only me, and the amulet is not worth any money because this is what's left of my dad. The amulet linked me to past vivid memories of my father. I realized that when I held it in my hand, I could feel my dad's presence next to me, and the energy in him gave me more strength and confidence. Parents' gifts are priceless and can never be returned. My mother reminded me of all this when I handed over the money for the amulet. She cried for a long time, didn't understand why I became so selfish. Along with it, did not understand me. I seem to have sold my loyalty to my father along with the amulet. After all, every item in this treasured box is a part of my father, and the stone was his heart. It's a pity that I realize this only now. And apparently, nothing can be fixed.